In a bid to address challenges associated with insecurity in Nigeria, several suggestions have been made. We see recommendations flying from left, right, and center, all aimed at ensuring that Nigeria becomes a safer place, whether in the north or in the south. As of today, for example, we have heard things around state policing. Should states be allowed to have their own police? How will the respective governors of these states treat these policing units? That's one conversation. There's also another one about community sort of policing, which comes to the very grassroots, more like the way you have sheriff or in some countries marshals. Others have said, well, how about we even start from something a bit more fundamental, those who are even the ones driving insecurity across the country, particularly as it stands today in the northern part of Nigeria. They say, okay, let's start with banditry. How about we, well, let's say, experiment with some sort of amnesty, all right, with these persons in such a way that we're able to bring them to dialogue, discuss what the issues are, what are the factors driving agitation on their part, and then see how state governments across this region can also, as it were, give them some kind of soft landing in such a way that the tension is doused and then the agitation itself and its causes are addressed. Kaduna State Governor has done something that's a bit, well, some people say dramatic, but it's sort of revolutionary, regardless of where you stand in the divide. This morning, to help us find sense in these developments, we're joined by Ahmed Gesso, who is a security and intelligence analyst. He joins us live via Zoom from Kano State, northwestern Nigeria. Thank you, Gesso, for making our time to join us today. First of all, I'll go straight to the conversation by asking you, what are your thoughts about the idea of state governments going into some form of negotiations that have the potential to lead to some sort of, if you like, amnesty with bandits?
Well, I think before going into that, I need to follow up on what I have been talking about over the years, that all the governors and all the security agencies knows who are the bandits, they know where they are, they have their names, they have their profile by polling unit, political wards, states and local governments. And the communities also know who are the bandits, and they know who they are, and they know where they are, and they can profile them. They have the background information required to support any intelligence need for any operational perspective. It is essential to note that if at all they don't know, they don't have this information, how do they reach out to them? How do they get to them? How do they have the dialogue session or the amnesty or whatever? Now, going to your question, I think it is important for every listener or viewer to understand the fact that there has been dialogue, amnesty, and negotiations between crime perpetrators and the authorities in every part of the world. As a conflict resolution expert and as a community-driven development professional, I believe that those have happened in many parts of the world many years back, and it is still happening. So it is not something new. Having such a dialogue or having such an amnesty and so on and so forth, as far as it will drive the process of a peaceful coexistence and peace building and the peace process. It is also essential to note that there was a governor in Kaduna State, that was Malam Nasir El-Rufai. There was a governor in Sokoto State, that was Barrister Aminu Tambuwal. There was a governor in Kaduna State, that was Aminu Bello Masari. There was a governor in Zamfara State, that was Bello, Amalam Bello Mutawalli, who is now the State Minister of Defense. There was a governor in Niger State, that was Lulu. So whichever way, the point I'm trying to make here is, there was those deceptive plan of having an amnesty or a dialogue with bandits or criminals in those north-western states and those central states, including that of where former Governor Habel was in Kogi State, and that of Nasarawa and Benue and Plateau. There was initiative of having such a peaceful or a dialogue sessions to address, in order to get to the rid of all these killings, kidnappings, and other criminal perspective or activities that has been taking place. But I think there is something missing. There must be six outline ingredients in any situation and circumstance where you want to conduct amnesty or where you want to conduct a dialogue with criminals, especially those bandits, banditry, kidnappers, Ansaru, Iswa, Boko Haram, and the rest. And this outline: one, you must have the community that has been hurt. You must have those who have been hurting or disturbing or criminalizing or terrorizing those communities. You must have a sign-in sheets where names and phone numbers and addresses of all the participants is to be recorded. You must have an agreement, an understanding, discussing the understanding of why the objective of the meeting is conducted. And number 5, you must have a recognized, agreed agreement on what and why the dialogue session or the amnesty is built upon, or the peace process is agreed upon. And finally, which is the most important and essential, you must have an enforcement, an agency responsible for enforcing those agreements to ensure that those who are terrorizing really stop terrorizing, and if at all they return or they rebut or they disagree in practice or in whichever way, then you should have a strategy to understand and to explain who is going to take what measure and on what, that which includes the security agencies, the political agencies, the administrative component, as well as the civilian JTF, or whatever you may call it, the political administration, the administrative system, the security formations. That is what combined together made the number 6 component. So if you have this, that is a wonderful, and I must commend Governor Obasani for the initiative, because of the informations we are generating, or I am generating, from the core, from the macro level of the communities of Benue and many other parts of the Kaduna State where this dialogue took place. Even though I am still studying and carefully trying to analyze the circumstance and the process, because if Obasani in Kaduna State conducted the dialogue, yes, of course, those bandits operating in Kaduna State may stop operating in Kaduna State, but they can fly. They can cross to Katsina State. They can cross to Niger State. They can cross to Kebbi State. They can cross to Sokoto State and commit the same atrocities. So, which means there must be a synchronized, a unique operating system on how to manage the situation combined by all the states.
All right. Several points have been raised in this your narrative right now, Getso. But let's talk about some of those issues you itemized, all of those conditions, or maybe we should call them preconditions that you did highlight. Does Kaduna State look like it has all of these mechanisms in place, especially your item 6, where you talked about a very critical component, which is an entity or an agency that would drive the enforcement of whatever agreement has been reached between these bandits and the government of Kaduna State?
Well, my concern has been something is missing definitely why we have to take this, allow these criminals to continue to conduct their activities over time. For several reasons. One of which, if at all there is sincerity, honesty, and the management of unscrupulous elements among the security agencies, we must commend the leadership of the Nigerian Army, Nigerian Air Force, and Nigerian Navy, as well as the Defense Headquarters, for their efforts over time to provide necessary logistics and operational support, as well as the psychological, social support to ensure that they deliver their mandates. At the same time, we also must commend the other security agencies who have been partnering and working together with these security agencies. Yes, of course, they have been doing their best, but their best have never been the best. Their best have never been enough. Why? Because there are lots of unscrupulous elements within the cycles that they have not been able to fish out so that they could have managed and addressed these issues years back. Nigeria has the capacity to manage the security challenges. We have the personnel. The personnel have the capacity. We have the armament. And the most important things is what I keep repeating, that we know who are the bandits. We know who are the kidnappers. And anybody who is saying they are foreigners, Dr. Uzagi says, you are deceiving yourself. 99.9% of them are known to us. We know them, we know where they are, we know their locations. All the security agencies, I mean all, and I said all, they all know who they are and they all know where they are. And all the traditional and religious institutions, as well as other philanthropies and other key players as stakeholders in the community building or community setup or community management, also environmental management, they all know who these guys and they all know who they are, and we know them by their parents, we know them by their grandparents, we know them by their grandparents. So which means in the last 100 years they are indigenous of Nigeria. So by this, if Kaduna State have been able to have this enforcement or all the items as mentioned, because what happens during Buhari administration as far as dialogue and the amnesty is concerned is just 86. But what is happening now, we want to understand, we are trying yet, still trying to examine what Obasani have started. But from the information we are gathering from the macro level, from the community level, from the hearts, and from the kingpin themselves, and from the operating team of the kidnappers, the voices we are generating from them, as well as from the members of the community, traditional, religious, and other philanthropies and other key players from all surrounding of Kaduna State, is that the peace process is really yet the result.
All right.
But my concern...
Yes, go ahead. Please, by all means, go ahead.
Yes, the three is the sustainability. Second, if at all any monetary, any money, if there is any financial benefit, is not sustainable. Because at the time, if you don't have, number three, if you don't have an enforcement on the agreement, on the dialogue, on what has been agreed, and if you don't have minute of the meeting, and both I challenge Kaduna State government at the same time, while commending them and commending the defense headquarters and other security agencies for their participation in the peace process. I also challenge all of them, especially the Kaduna State government, to come out boldly and provide all necessary information on how and what are the agreed action points on how to manage and deal with this amnesty and dialogue. With this, I am employing other states to join Kaduna state government to generate this information, conduct a pilot strategy, and decide on how to go about it. Yes, of course, I'm not advocate of dialogue, but I can be advocate of dialogue where it will give results. Because over the years, many of our people are being killed, are being kidnapped. And I said, and I'm repeating myself, we know who are the bandits. We know where the bandits are. And we can profile them by polling units, by herds, by villages, by political wards, by state assembly constituencies, by federal constituencies, and by senatorial constituencies. And we can build up a tree of background if we want to conduct background check. And if we really want to conduct an intelligent background tree that will help us to identify these guys and have their names, have their contact numbers, and have those who are supporting them directly and indirectly. And I know and I believe by the capacity of the Nigerian intelligence, of the Nigerian military, both Air Force and the land operators, that is the Army, the Civil Defense, the Police Authority, and all the security agencies that we have, inclusive of the DSS. Nigeria have the capacity of managing all the security challenges in Africa. I want to build the confidence and trust on to Nigerians that Nigerian security personnel, they have the capacity, they have the armament, and they can manage the security challenges in the entire African nations, African states, not only what we have in Nigeria that can easily be managed within 7 days. But something is missing somewhere. There is something we refuse to do. Capacity is different from refusing to utilize the capacity. So we only refused to utilize the capacity as enshrined by the Constitution, as enshrined by the clauses in the Constitution that enacted, provided the enactment of provision of the Nigerian Army and its responsibility, Nigerian Police, its responsibility, Nigerian Air Force, its responsibility, the DSS, their responsibility, Civil Defense, their responsibility, and all the 29 security agencies that we have. So if at all, we can sit off and hold people accountable for the responsibilities given to them, and also conditioned promotions, demotion, sacking, dismissal, as well as queries based on the performance and non-performing strata, we wouldn't have been able to still have this issue of kidnapping, the Boko Haram, the issue of up till now, unmanaged. I keep repeating, I commend the defense headquarters, and I believe that the defense headquarters and its allies and other partnering agencies, they have the capacity, they have the agility, they have the patriotic mindset to manage what we have. But simply because somewhere else, somebody is using the insecurity in northern Nigeria, especially in that of northwestern part of the country and northeastern part of the country, in strategically and systematically utilizing it as a political mechanism, as a political machinery. Some are still having the gut that if we are able to succeed, if we support Governor A, if we support local government chairman B, if we support Senator A, B, C, if we support federal government or chief of defense staff or chief of army staff A, B, C, we allow him to succeed, then how are we going to continue to siphon the resources? How are we going to stop it? How are we going to enrich ourselves so that our children attain the best
can you hear me now?
In the world? And so forth. I do.
Okay, great. So let's talk about one of the issues you made allusion to a while ago, because you were saying, hypothetically, this approach by the Kaduna state government under the leadership of Governor Basani will make a difference for the better to a large extent, all right, in Kaduna state. However, you also indicated some level of curiosity by asking what happens to these criminal elements that will maybe flee to other states, whether it's Niger, it's well, let's say Sokoto, or even other neighboring states around Kaduna. Let's talk about how there is necessity at this point, for example, for these states, particularly in the northwestern part of the country, to maybe, who knows, use this Kaduna state example as a blueprint.
Yes, absolutely. I advocate, and I encourage other neighboring states to conduct a study tour, a study visit, in order to invite the Kaduna State Security Management Team, especially the new Commissioner for Security and Home Affairs, and his team, as well as to visit the GOC, the Police Commissioner, the Commandant of the Civil Defense, and all the security agencies, and even other non-formal securities, that is NSAK, or Vigilante, or Manoa, or Hunters, which I know all of them are incorporated and involved in the process. Conduct a kind of a study tour to Kaduna State, and conduct a visit to Kaduna State Governor. Let's have a brief, let's have a blueprint, and let's have a copy of the minutes and the agreement reached, so that let's have a strategic information generation tools and utilize it in order to reach out to Kaduna State and generate all those informations. Come back to your state, compare and contrast, and look at the peculiarities and the differences in the challenges.
All right.
Because
yes, go ahead.
Probably some few challenge differences on operatives or mode of operandi between the bandits in Kaduna, the bandits in Katsina, the bandits in Sokoto, the kidnappers in Niger, the kidnappers in Kogi, the kidnappers in Plateau, and the rest of it. So compare and contrast, mobilize the information, generate the information from Kaduna State, inclusive of presentations, if necessary, PowerPoint presentations, and other minutes of the meeting, and on how they conducted or how the process started yielding results. Take it to a state, look at your environment, insert it into your own cup of tea, and then dilute it, and then digest it, and then try to sip it, and see if it is possible. If it is not possible, probably you can bring other experts like me. There are some of the governors who are working probably to engage my company, that is Eagles Integrated Security.
Mr. Gesso, that's advertising you're doing. We're discussing issues around national security as it stands right now. So let's not advertise. Let's stay on the public interest angle, if you do not mind, please.
Yeah. At the same time, there are more challenges that are more dangerous than banditry and kidnapping, probably facing the northern Nigeria, not only northwestern Nigeria, north central, northwest, and northeast, which I think there is much need for all the governors to try as much as they can to reorganize themselves. I commend them for the efforts they are making. I appreciate what they are doing, but what they are doing is not enough. And I commend the Kaduna State in particular. I'm recommending Governor Obasani for the performance-based results, because he started this dialogue process not quite 37 days ago. But the result we are seeing is better than what happens 8 years during Buhari administration. We are getting results based on the information from the micro level, from the huts where these atrocities are taking place, and from the areas where these challenges are being generated. We are having voices of the kidnappers and bandit kingpins from Kaduna State telling us that yes, we have lowered down our arms and we have embraced amnesty introduced by the Kaduna State Governor. And we also reach out to the community leaders, the village heads, the one heads, I also reach out to the community members. They are telling me that they are now moving free. There are challenges, not 100% really, but there is lot of progress being made. And I commend Obutani, and I want him to share, to have a national chat, and then share it with the Office of the National Security Advisor, and also the federal and the state agencies, the state authorities should come together and have a unique policy on how to deal with this situation. What we need is to have the peace in place, is to have an end of kidnapping, and to also have those who are still in captivity to have them released. And to also understand that I can move freely with my boots. I can go to one market, between one market and another. I can visit my relations between one state and the other, one local government and the other, without having any fear. So it's commendable effort.
All right, let's turn to the southeast now, because I mean that region, that part of the country, are seeing perhaps a little more than its fair share of insecurity as well. Now, would you say, from what you know, based on your assessment, that this kind of model we're seeing in Kaduna State can be replicated in the southeast?
Yes, absolutely. It can be replicated in all parts of Nigeria.
With the unknown gunmen?
This and south. Because one, you must conduct what we call root cause analysis. And it is with root cause analysis that you will understand what are really the basis, what are the arguments from those who are committing the crimes, what are their grievances, understand the grievances, and then put it on a thread, and then see what you can be able to fix and what they can be able to understand and acknowledge and embrace. Peace process achieved in any part of the world by copying from one book or one strategy to another. So it is possible. We need to have a feasibility study, and all parts of Nigeria, I employ and I advocate for Nigerian government, the Office of the National Security Advisor, to continue to do whatever they could. If it means copying from Kaduna State government, there is nothing wrong. Let's give it a try. What we need is to have a peaceful coexistence and to have a kind of to secure life and property from being destroyed and being killed.
All right, recently, on the final note now, Senator Adams Oshomole said illegal mining is one of the factors driving banditry, particularly across the northwestern belt of the country. And then he also alleged that this phenomenon has behind it retired generals. Now, if what the Senator Adams Oshomole were to be worth anything, what's the implication of that for the fight against banditry, insurgency, and all forms of criminality in the north?
Well, first of all, I think it was not Adams Oshomole first been making such allegations. There has been these allegations many times. One of the governors in the last regime of Buhari administration had made this allegation against one of the generals or some of the generals. And we have not had any of these serving or retired generals that has been alleged, even though I don't see names. And I wonder why Adams Oshomole and all those who are alleging cannot mention names. So, but I think they have given our intelligence and our security operatives and the leadership of the Nigerian government under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration a simple guide to checkmate, to browse, to kind of scan, to understand who are really these retired generals. And they are not above the law. They are not above Nigerian constitutions. And they are Nigerians. They can be brought to book and face the wrath of the law. That is one. On the other hand, we need to look at the background of Adams Oshomole. This was the national chairman of the Nigerian Labour Congress. This was the governor of Edo State for 8 years. This was somebody whose background had been checked over time and had been found to be highly reputable and responsible to some extent. I'm not saying that he is 100% pure, but the concern I have, as a member of the Senate, as a sitting member of the Senate, as a senator, Federal Republic of Nigeria, I believe that Senator Adams Oshomole will not just come out and make this allegation or make this statement just for the sake of making it. He must have had evidence. He must have had conducted background check. He must have had a certain discussions at high levels. He must have had some interactions with some of our intelligence agencies and some of our intelligence personnel, probably even the Senate Committee on National Security and Intelligence. So definitely he must have an evidence to back his arguments. But my concern is how serious has the Nigerian intelligence took this statement made by Adams Oshomole, and how are we utilizing it in pursuing the process of examining the truth or otherwise of such statements and such allegations that have been made by many Nigerians over time. It has been made by locals, it has been made by a group of elites, it has been made by many of the media outlets, it has been made by many of the, probably the bandits that have been apprehended, it has been made probably in many intelligence reports being presented to our political and administrative leaders. But we have not had any feedback, any outcome being released by either the security agencies, the political as well as administrative bloc of Nigeria's management, or from either the presidency or the office of the secretary to the government of the federation or any other source in finding a kind of strategic action plan, or how has it been utilized? How has this intelligence? Because it is open intelligence. It's not even an undercover intelligence. It's not a closed intelligence. It is an open intelligence. If somebody like Adams Oshomole will make these statements, going by the background I have discussed of who is Senator Adams Oshomole, I think we should take it very serious and more serious. And we should be very serious about this issue. And there are a lot of allegations around this mining issue. But how have we been doing? What have we been doing in managing? I know many of the mining sites are still operating. Even those that has been called illegal mining sites, they are still ongoing. So what have we been doing, and how do we pursue the process? Utilizing and examining the statement.
Hopefully, Mr. Getso, as a country, as a government, and as a people, we're able to find answers to all of these very important questions that you're asking on the program this morning. In the meantime, we say we're grateful for the insights, very valuable ones, I should say, that we have shared with us on Global Morning today.
Thank you very much.
Great.
Thank you for having me.
All right, that's what we leave it with this discussion. Thank you everyone so far on the program. Just well, let's call it the first lap of the program today. We're taking a quick break. Everyone, up next we'll be looking at the need for critical reforms in our electoral process in Nigeria towards strengthening democratic institutions. All of that and so more coming after this break. Please stay with us.